I hope you enjoyed Scott sharing some insights with us. Now we're pleased to continue this momentum with a panel focused on growing a career within our organization, GW. This session will be led by GW Vice President and Chief People Officer Sabrina Miner, along with a group of colleagues who will share their experiences, perspectives, and practical advice on their GW career development and their journey. Please join me in welcoming Sabrina Miner and our panelists as they lead us into an important discussion on career growth and opportunity. Sabrina.
Thank you, Aileen. I am so excited. Okay, so I don't want to express so much excitement that I can't get my words out, but I'm so excited about this first annual career. What is it called? Hold on, Elevate GW, right? I'm like, one, can I steal that slogan, Aileen, Staff Council, right? Because I love Elevate GW. And two, I love that this is the first one. I'm hoping that we can move into one in-person one at some point and expand it and see it grow. But thank you so much for having us, and I'm ready to kick it off. So I have an amazing panel. I am excited to learn about their career paths and journeys as well. What I want to do before I get started is have them introduce themselves. But do we have all our panel members here? I don't see.
No, I think someone's, I
We
think,
need to spotlight Tricia.
Yes.
That's who we're missing.
Yeah.
Can we spotlight Tricia, please?
Don't want to start without her.
She's here. I just don't know how to
I was about to say, I was still backstage. I'm going like, everything's starting. How do I get...
Bridget, will you spotlight Tricia for me? I don't actually know how to do it. Oh, wait. Sort.
Tricia, is your camera on?
Yeah, I was still backstage. And I'm going like, okay, where did everybody go?
No, her camera is not. I see her picture, but I don't see her actual frame.
Praying.
There
we go.
There we can. There we go.
Thank you,
Thank
Staff
you,
Council, Bridget, and the technical group behind the scenes. You guys are working tirelessly to make sure this is happening. So, as today's moderator, my name is Sabrina Miner. I am your Chief People Officer of Human Resources. I am all things staff. And if you were listening to Scott Morey's message, it resonated with me so well. I'm not sure if I'm an ambivert, introvert, extrovert, maybe a little bit of both or a mixture, but I love interaction. If you see me walking down the street, connect with me, talk with me. I try to be approachable intentionally. So feel free. And I'm with Scott. We get a variety of emails. So I don't know how many people are nervous about emailing us about their feedback. Diane and I know in HR, we call feedback a gift, and I get a lot of gifts there every day. They come in by the boatload. It's not even a holiday season, and I get them on a weekly basis. So for those who do not know me, I'll be at the holiday party, just a little plug at the Foggy Bottom holiday party and the VSTC holiday party. I'm always walking around. Stop by, say your name, introduce yourself, and let's connect. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed panel to introduce themselves. A quick introduction, your name, your title, and your years of service. So the way my screen is set up, I have Diane going first, Gina, Kathleen, Marva, and Tricia. So I'm going to kick it off to you, Diane, first to do a quick introduction, your name, title, and how long you been at GW.
Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you and happy Friday. My name is Diane Connors. I'm the Executive Director of Talent Acquisition here at the university. I love nothing more than talking to you on the street, so that's just my side note. I will talk to you anytime. My years of service, I am on lucky number 14 at the university. So I think you said Gina was next. So Gina, I'll popcorn it over to you for an introduction.
Wonderful. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Gina Lohr. I am the Senior Associate Vice Provost for Research. I also am serving as the Interim Associate Provost for Research Integrity and Compliance, and I'm the Administrative Dean for the Virginia Science and Technology Campus. So anyone I have to say, the VSTC holiday party or winter celebration is a little bit smaller and just as fun, if not more fun, than the Foggy Bottom one. So if you're in the area or could go to either or both, stop by and see us on Tuesday out at the Virginia campus. And my years of service at the university is somewhere between 25 and 30. I can't remember exactly how many it is. I stopped counting a long time ago, but somewhere around there. And I'm a double alum. So our first year students coming here and seeing them roam around, I was one of those way back in the day as well. So I've spent my entire career here. Love it.
Kathleen, you're up.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I'm Kathleen Duffy. I'm the Senior Director of Career Development over at the F. David Fowler Career Center, which is in the School of Business. And I've had the joy of being at George Washington University for the past 16 years. And I guess, is it Marva next?
Yes.
Thank
I'll
you.
take it. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marva Jennings. I serve as Director of Career Academic Partnerships for the Center for Career Services, which reports to Enrollment and Student Success under JGov. I have been at the university for 41 years formally in the Center for Career Services. I'm going to add another 2 years because I was a student staff member in housing while getting my graduate degree here. And I'll popcorning it, I guess, to Tricia.
Yes.
Hello. My name is Tricia Greenstein. I'm with Libraries and Academic Innovation in Access Services. I'm presently a library coordinator. And from the day to day, you see me front and center, greeting you at the entrance or at the circulation desk, or saying "Have a good one" when I'm at the exit, among the many things I do. And before I forget, I'm doing the math. I've been here since 2002, so it'd be 23 years.
One, I'm blown away that Diane, you happen to be the youngest tenure, and 14 years is impressive. Gina, Marva, I definitely want a side conversation with you if we don't have time to get to how you guys have been here. A double alum, Gina. I don't even think I knew that about you. Wow. So again, this is going to be such an amazing opportunity to learn throughout the journey that each of you have taken throughout the year. So one of the first questions I want to jump in and ask is, what first attracted you to GW? And one of the main reasons you chose to work here today. So anyone can jump in. If not, I can call on you guys and see who wants to answer that.
I think that was my first and only career pivot, honestly, because GW was my first job out of college. I was trained to be a German teacher at the secondary level, but I was not finding jobs after I graduated. And so I thought, okay, I enjoyed my experience as a student assistant at Furman University's libraries. Why not pivot to library jobs? And Washington, D.C. was as far as I wanted to go. Go from South Carolina. So, I applied to Duke, interviewed there twice, NC State. GW is the place that hired me. And bonus, my boyfriend at the time was a GW student. So,
So Tricia, what I just heard you say is love brought you here, proximity brought you here, and that GW was willing to take a chance on you as a career path. So an amazing recap. Anyone else want to jump in to tell me why GW and why you chose to work here today?
I can take it next.
Thanks,
I had no intention of working in higher education. I got my degree in education with an emphasis on rehabilitation, and I actually went to work for a psychiatric hospital and loved the work. I discovered that I like being first at things. I set up the first vocational assessment program there. Anyway, if you've ever worked for a hospital, the census, especially a psychiatric hospital, counts. And in the summertime, when the sun is shining, there are not as many patients. It's sort of a discovery. So I actually utilized my GW connections to informational interview and network. And there was one assistant dean who I took a sign language class from, and she used to work at one point at Gallaudet. And I thought, I I've worked with deaf patients before. I got it might be a good thing. And I came and I informational interviewed her, and she said, "Do you know there's a position in the Career Center?" And I'm like, "What? Who?" I'd never used the Career Center. And my motto at the time was, "Well, give it a try." And so I did. I interviewed on a lark whim, and well prepared, and was very, very fortunate to be hired, and have been there ever since in about 6 or 7 roles. I've stopped counting.
Wow, Marva. I mean, 41 years is impressive in its own hindsight. But what I did hear you say is great networking at GW. So I love that. So I'll ask if one more
Can I,
person would like to jump in and then, oh, Gina, perfect.
I
Thank you.
will. Yes. So I initially chose GW as a student, which is for the main reason was opportunity. And I will say that that's actually the reason that I stayed and worked at GW, and one of the reasons that I continue to want to be here, to choose to be here. So GW in the nation's capital, just like a lot of our students, it's like, wow, this is where you are. We had a lot of those nostalgic moments of studying down on the mall, and you look to your right, you look to your left, and you see the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial, right? So it's just this feeling of no one else. Talking to my high school friends, no one had that kind of experience, right? So we had experiences that no one else could have. I started working as an undergrad, as a student, which led to a summer job. So there was an opportunity, which then led to a full-time job, which gave me tuition benefits. So I used the tuition remission program to finish my bachelor's, to get my master's, the whole time thinking sometime I'm going to go out and do this other thing, right? Like when I grow up, I'm going to be X. But every time that came up to that precipice of that, something else, there was another opportunity, another something that I didn't know. So the diversity of opportunities at GW, you can also within your own position. So I may have been stationary in a position, but I learned about research administration. I learned about finance. I learned about procurement. I learned about all kinds of administrative opportunities and different things. Business, okay, I didn't work in the corporate world, but we work with corporations, right? And we see from our side what it's like doing business with them. So there's so many opportunities and so many ways to learn new things that it doesn't get repetitive, it doesn't get stale or boring. You just have to open your eyes and open your ears and sometimes take that leap forward, but just know that there is so much out there to learn from within our own community. And I think that's what keeps me here, keeps me happy, and keeps me engaged.
Gina, that is perfectly said. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to Scott Morey's interview from Aileen earlier, and he pretty much said that when people take opportunities, they're not always wrapped in this pretty wrapping paper, but you have to see that this fits all your boxes. But because sometimes it's not wrapped the way you saw your life going, you don't take a leap of faith. And what I just heard you say is, I had this plan, but it was so many things that kept me at GW. You learn research, you learn business. So this is so impressive. And again, I talked to Gina a lot, and I don't even think I knew this much about her career path. So me learning, just listening to her. One thing I like that Scott did mention earlier is that you can never say put a check mark on building relationships, right? Because each and every time you speak to someone, you learn something new about them, their experiences. And that's why networking is so important. And I'm excited to continue this conversation. So
Sabrina,
I'm going to
can
jump in.
I? Oh,
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
I
Diane, yes.
I didn't want
This
to
is my happy
overstep.
bucket. No, this
Okay,
is
all
my
right.
happy
Well, I'm
bucket.
just like, well, can I go too?
Yes.
But I started my career in higher education, and we relocated from New York to the Washington, D.C. area, and I was looking. I actually was working at another George before I know, shockingly, not, but it was the answer at different institutions is always a little interesting. And at one of our competitors, it was very much, it is what it is. The status quo had to remain the same. There was no questioning of why we did things or trying to make improvements. And that really, if you've gotten to meet me in 14 years, you would know that that is not something that is going to work for how I operate. And so the opportunity came along to work in HR at GW, and I applied. And so that is luckily for me, where I have found my happy place and my happy bucket in the last 14 years. But that's also because no day at GW is the same. As Sabrina said, we get gifts all day long, and my Friday has started with a 7 a.m. call with some extra gifts, but also that's what keeps me here. There's never a day that I'm not challenged. I'm not thinking outside the box. But I also am lucky enough to see something and it needs to be fixed, and I'm given the ability to do that, and to me that is extremely meaningful. I also, if you haven't met me and haven't seen me over the summertime, my happy place is the DC Summer Youth Program, which I get to oversee in the summertime, where we bring kids ages 15 to 20 from the inner city of DC, and they get the opportunity to have an experience of what it's like to work in higher education. And so that way, if your department's interested, if your school is interested, you know where to find me. Hopefully, if you don't, you can have all of my credentials and you can contact me. But that brings me joy of also giving kids the opportunity to see what it's like to work in higher ed, and hopefully they come back to us and work here. Okay, I'm done, Sabrina.
No, and I want to make sure Kathleen is, if she wants to jump in. But before I pass it over to Kathleen, Diane, thank you for your experience. I didn't know you worked at the other George. We're gonna have to have a conversation. But two, that program that Diane is talking about, it's something that I benefited from. So my first job at 14 was at George Washington University. I went through the mayor's summer, it was the Marion Barry program at the time, and I went through the summer youth program. Yes, thanks, Aaron. Summer youth program, and it actually shaped me and how I viewed a college atmosphere. That was my very first time on a college campus. At the time, they had a cafeteria, it was a bowling alley, it was something called Tower Records across the street. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but at that time, Puff Daddy was really great and famous and apparently good. He was on campus. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, they have celebrities, they have a cafeteria, they have kitchen. And Tricia, my first job was in the libraries. Now, granted, that didn't work out for me because I wasn't a quiet person, and they always was like, shh, shh. And I was like, oh my goodness. So they put me on the errand where I used to do help translate or take mails to different interoffice mails and walk the campus, which actually showed me how to about the campus, where things were. So it was an amazing experience. So just another plug for that program. So Kathleen, I want to turn it over to you just to make sure I want to leave you out if you want to jump in and answer that question.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. And I'll be brief so we can get on to some of the other fascinating questions you have planned. I never expected I'd work at a university in my career path because I spent the first half of my entire career in the airline industry. So I worked for 5 different airlines, and my final airline was working in the Human Resources Department with the America West US Airways merger here in Crystal City, which is what brought me to Virginia. And I fell in love with this area. Well, when that merger finished, my very first boss at American Airlines reached out to me and said, you know, Kathleen, what are you going to do now that this merger is done? Because they offered me a job, US Airways offered me a job out in Arizona, so I didn't want to relocate to Arizona because I really like this area. So my first boss at American said, you know, you would be a great career coach. And I said, what is that? I didn't even know what it was. And she said, look, I know this guy at a company called Lee Hecht Harrison I need to introduce you to. He has a position open. So I ended up getting hired by Gil Yancey, who was a wonderful mentor. And Marva was one of the first people I ever met when I came to GW all those years ago, when Gil brought me on board to the GW School of Business Career Center as a consultant. So I actually worked for 18 months as a consultant with Lee Hecht Harrison on site to help create an undergraduate business school career center for undergrad students. And one of my first jobs was to create a career management course. So I thought I would just help Gil get the undergrad career center started, spend a few years here, and then go back into corporate America. And I fell in love with GW and the community here. And Sabrina, what you were talking about, you know, how Puff Daddy was here. Well, I was like a kid in a candy shop when I came here because there were so many events and speakers and really
Yes.
interesting people, from the staff to the faculty to the alumni and the students. I just 16 years later, here I am. I still love it. So that's what brought me here, and that's what keeps me here.
Kathleen, I completely agree with your assessment. But you know what? One thing that you pointed out, and it's a great highlight for this particular conversation, is transferable skills. You said you started out working in human resources, and one thing we always say, and it goes back to what Gina said, is your path doesn't always have to be wrapped a certain way, right? You were in human resources and now you're in career development. Those skills were transferable. So this is great, a great topic because you're thinking out of the box on your career path. So I love that story. So I'm going to transition, and thank you for that. I'm going to transition over to the next question. Now, thinking about your personal life, you guys have expressed why you came and some of the things that impacted you. What experiences have shaped your development, though? Like, I heard Gina talk about different things that she was able to do in research and learn businesses, but is there anything particular that has shaped your development? Like, one thing that you can think about and look at and say, wow, this changed the trajectory of my path.
Well, I will say one thing for me. When I was working in the airlines, I was working with a team of industrial psychologists, and my last 5 years, I was the one practitioner in the group. And one of my colleagues suggested I look into certificate programs. So this was a game changer for me because what I did was, and it's the other George actually, who was who shall remain nameless, but I ended
Right.
up commuting from Dallas, Texas, where I was working at the time at American Airlines, to DC once a month to engage in a 3 day a month certificate program in organization development because I was very curious to learn what is organization development. I didn't want to invest in the master's because I thought, well, I want to first find out what it is. And that certificate program gave me all of these practitioner skills to actually start becoming an org development consultant more, I guess, more impactfully with the team back in Dallas. So I actually got to get the certificate while I was working. So I applied what I was learning in the program with my actual on the job work, and it set me up for a whole future of really fascinating job opportunities because that gateway opened it up. And I mention that because we are in this wonderful university, the George Washington University, with lots of certificates and lots of opportunities for anyone to, look at something new they've never done before or a skill or that they want to develop. And it could really be a game changer for your own career path too. So.
Thank you, Kathleen. That just made me trigger a thought that for me, when on my path at GW, and I too didn't expect to stay here as long. I've been here 12 years. I had head of CHR at the time. Her name was Sabrina Ellis. And she pulled me to the side and was like, I love that you ask those bold questions. I love that you are not afraid to raise your hand and sometimes ask the difficult questions. That experience shaped my development because at some point, if you have a leader or supervisor who believes in your ability to move up, it encourages you. It makes you feel like, okay, I'm on the right path. I can do this job. That experience helped shape my development. It made me want to dive deeper. It made me feel great. That's where recognition comes in, that I was being recognized by somebody was at that time 4 levels above me, right? So just keep that in mind as leaders who are listening on the phone. When you see things like that and hear Kathleen's stories, that it are people watching you, right? And people are excited when you acknowledge them as a leader and pull them to the side. So that was just one thing that experience, one of my experiences that shaped my development here.
I'm going to jump in and talk about maybe when you don't have leaders that point out or pull you out and
Okay.
acknowledge you. And at one point in my career at GW, I did not have that. Well, the option, that doesn't stop you though. The
Right.
option
Yeah.
was I began to utilize my professional associations
Yes.
and also some volunteer work that I did for other organizations, nonprofits, etc., in a leadership role. But the emphasis on the professional association, I got involved. I was allowed to do that, and I said yes to a lot of things, sitting on committees, etc. And once you say yes to quite a few things and you're present, I think we've heard that throughout this conference, people notice you and they tap you. I never forgot the president of one of my professional associations, and I did the New England and then the Mid-Atlantic and at the national groups. Let's have some coffee. I know you're new here, but I see this. or I would like you to head up this. And I was like, wait, I just got here. What do you mean? How can I do this? But again, buoyed by, people's confidence
Yeah.
in me, I was able to do that. So what I learned from that also, and when I started after this leadership experience, I did what I knew others did that was important to me. I singled out newcomers. Wanted to talk to them because when you go to these conferences and you're known, you actually, once a year or once every 6 months or whatever, however you're involved, you get into a little clique because it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I haven't seen you in a year
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. And then the newcomers get really left behind. So you can compartmentalize how you use your time to continue growing, but how you also pull others up. And unfortunately, it's even like my church. I wanted to go in the pews and leave, and then got asked to serve. Now I run the board for the church. I do it for my social cultural organization and just hang in there. And it helps. I say on any kind of interview, you can draw in and talk about skills. It doesn't have to be work skills
Yeah.
only. And you certainly can talk about your organizational ability. You can talk about how you are a negotiator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's so beneficial. So I do want to put a little plug in for if you're not as well supported, there are other avenues as well. I also think many people are not inclined because their boss or the boss's boss seems so high above them that they're like, well, nobody's noticing me. I think it also is an opportunity for you to ask. You don't always get what you may ask for, but 50% that boss or the boss's boss or the boss's boss will recognize you are asking and want to devote some time to you. So that was a long answer, but
No, that was an absolute perfect answer because what I just heard,
Um,
it is multiple ways to go about what you need in the career development. And that although my path was different, what I do like about what you said, Marva, is that you didn't have that mentor or someone, but then you became that. What I just heard you tell me is that you then, because you missed that or didn't have that as a part of your networking, your opportunities, you then became that for others. So I love that story because that's a two-part component. You're telling me how to network and socialize, but at the same time, I love that you became that missing component for some other individuals.
yes, you
Thank
can
you for
seek
that.
it for yourself
Yes.
and remember to pull everybody along with you.
Trisha, yeah, definitely you're up.
yeah, and that was definitely my experience during a time when, um, I mean, I didn't really have such a supportive managerial team. I mean, I joined the agent.
You went on mute, Trisha. Go ahead.
Why did I go on mute? I mean, basically the Asian Pacific American Librarians Association, American Library Association. I mean, I joined some of their committees, and they were very welcoming. They were very accommodating. I was a rookie. They weren't going to pillory me for my mistakes, unlike my upbringing. So I mean that helped build my confidence. And as Scott Morris said earlier, I mean it's just about showing up and through the Asian Pacific American Librarians Association and the ALA, I mean I have this national network to lean on as well.
Perfect. If unless someone else wants to jump in on that question, I can move on to the next one. And then Paul, thank you for managing the chat. If we have some time, I don't mind jumping to the chat at the end if we have some questions. But I see you over there managing it fiercely, so I appreciate that.
Sure.
What has helped you feel empowered in managing your career? Like, I love that Marva told us how to take charge and network and socialize. But for others, what has empowered you, or how have you felt empowered in managing your careers? Tricia, oh, I thought you were talking. Okay.
Yeah,
I would
sometimes.
just say, I would just say patience, patience.
I love that.
That's been huge for me because really, when I first got to GW, I didn't know a soul, and I was completely overwhelmed like 16 years ago. And I thought, I don't know this world of higher ed. I have no idea how I'm going to ever manage my own career. And so I think that I had to be very patient with myself and also really getting to know people over time. It really took a while. It took me, I always say, Aline will remember this one. Whenever anyone new starts, I always say you got to give it at least 6 months before you even kind of know how to find your way to your, your lunch places and things. It's a big community, and so I think that helped just the patience of just like giving myself time to get to know people. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Give yourself at least 6 months. Maybe we should put that in the orientation, Kathleen. So that actually might be some good feedback just to let people know to give yourself some grace, at least 6 months to kind of get to know the campus. But be intentional. Don't just sit at your desk, right? Kind of walk out, take a lunch break, take a walk, especially in the spring. The campus is so beautiful, right? Walk around, get to know places. It's an interactive map online that you can utilize. But thank you for that. Tricia, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just little encouraging comments that kind of tell me, "Hey, I can do this." I was sitting in a Council of Librarians meeting once, and I know Geneva Henry wasn't saying this directly toward me, but she had made a comment that basically something to the effect of, "Our talent runs deep." And the light bulb hit in my head. I had been so laser focused on becoming a council librarian, and I made it to the final stage. Didn't quite make it, but something pivoted it in my head when Geneva said that, and basically saying, "Hey, I don't have to be X, Y, Z. I could just be me. I can make an impact. I mean, I can do this."
Wow. I appreciate that because libraries, of course, we know the libraries has history, but I didn't realize the amount of work you guys do from historians to the data to the research. Every time that HR is looking for some history or some knowledge or even trivia, you guys have a long history of how GW started. So I definitely want to give a shout out to the unsung heroes in the libraries because people don't realize the amount of work it takes as a historian to keep that track, keeping the data. And you guys are like our record keepers of the university. So I do appreciate that. Um, for colleagues who have found their professional home and are committed to staying, keyword staying at GW or in their current role, how do you personally define and seek out career growth and challenges without needing a new title? Like, I love what Gina said earlier about learning while you're in that role. But for others, how do you personally, or Gina, if you want to elaborate, seek out and learn new things without a title, without a promotion, without that
Mhm.
hierarchy part that you need? What is the
So
secret?
I don't know if it's a secret, but I will jump
Okay.
in and elaborate a little bit more on that because I have moved around. Obviously,
Hmm.
I've sought out other opportunities, and some came with a promotion, some not. But it's being present. I know you talked about being intentional, but also being present when you are here, when you are engaged, whether it's on Zoom or it's on campus. If there's an opportunity to attend things in person and be there, and you get a different energy. You feel what's in the room more than just, listening to it virtually. So if it's available, I would say be present, be in person. At some point, you have to be able to trust a little bit. It's not easy necessarily. Some of us can be a little introverted, and it's scary to reach out and talk to someone. But you have to trust that GW is here for our community. Our supervisors, our managers, and our leadership are here to help everyone. And so to ask, even just reach out a very small question, or can we have a conversation offline? Or I really liked what you said about X. Are there any opportunities for me to learn more? I'll have to say, from a management standpoint, nothing makes me happier when someone comes to me and says, I want to learn more, or not that I have a lot of bandwidth, it's not that I have downtime, but I'm interested in this other thing. What are ways that I can get involved? So it's paying attention, And then following, kind of following your gut and putting yourself out there just a little bit to ask those questions. I think across the board at GW in every division, we have a lot of people that are really dedicated to supporting and helping their teams. And really, we're looking for those people that are curious. We want to help the people that want to stay here, that want to grow, or those folks that are doing a knockout job, they just want to continue. That's okay too. There just has to be that communication about what is it that you're seeking, whether it's, look, my personal life is crazy. I want to keep doing what I'm doing at this steady pace. I'll let you know when I'm ready for more. Or if it's, I'm early in my career, I've mastered this position. What else is there for me? Both are okay. We just need to hear from you what that is. So I would say just trust, put yourself out there even just a little bit, and good things can happen.
I would say it's sort of also, we tend to volunteer for things. Gina and I end up places because, we volunteer for things. For instance, I'm going to do the selfie booth at the holiday party. Like they just asked me to. And so, sure, that also checks a happy box for me. But I think it's because, we tend to volunteer for things. But I think early in my career, I realized there's a difference when you truly care about making an impact and making a difference and trying to improve things. And so when I first started out, I would volunteer for, we had a process improvement team and things like that were not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but yes, parts of them were in my wheelhouse. And so I would volunteer for those types of things that I could learn more about someone else's area or do those learning moments of just understanding what someone else does at the university and trying to see how we can intersect that together. I would also say that what has helped me along my GW career path and also helped me feel very fulfilled in my career of that there is never a day that's the same. It's also the ability to expand my role and what I do at the university within my abilities. For instance, the DC Summer Youth Program was not in my wheelhouse, and then that's in my wheelhouse. I also get the pleasure of running the LinkedIn GW page, which I'm sure most of the time people don't know that, but that is technically in my realm, and that certainly fills a happy bucket for me of why you want to come to GW, what's great about GW, what's happening here. And so I would encourage you to find what keeps you engaged and what keeps you motivated and keeps moving you forward, and encourage you to take a look at what that is for yourself as well.
Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Yes, Marva, please. Thank you.
I would also say, it's going to sound strange, but for career growth, sometimes it might be important for you to make a lateral move as opposed to always going up the ladder.
Yes.
And it's all with purpose. And I have done that once or twice, and it has worked out really well. For some, but it's hard when you're doing that to think, oh, will that mean a pay cut? And it may. You have to look at benefits. And so there's a lot to it. But again, people have been talking about really thinking about what this means to you, whether or not this is valuable or worthwhile. For me, it was. The other thing in terms of career growth is to really see beyond your office. Who else? We happen to have in our career services world about 10 to 12 career services offices across campus, and we have a council. So we meet once a month. And it really is getting to know all the other practitioners in career services. Many of them are at the graduate level. Kathleen and I happen to be at both in a way. We're predominantly undergrad, but we do so many other things that graduate students can participate in. But it's really getting to know your colleagues and figuring out synergies, because my motto is, let's work smarter, not harder. If you're doing something and you don't mind collaborating with me and it influences a larger amount of students, awesome. Let's do it together. And then something as simplistic, I think Gina or Tricia started saying this, as you see people here, you interact with them, whether it's today or whatever, reach out. Have a virtual coffee. if that's the best, you can do, or something in person. And over the years, I've really appreciated getting together with faculty and staff and forming little groups. They're and those are the people you can pick up and like, I have a problem. Can I really just talk to you? Because I know your heart and I know you're supportive. Let's just talk this through. And you have a different perspective of the university, and I would like that. And real friendships have developed over the years. There's a little more, but I'm going to leave it for somebody else.
No, I appreciate that, Marva. The one thing that I was going to close it out before we turn to the chat is, and you pretty much answered it, is like, what actionable piece of advice for any colleague or any person listening who is looking for career growth would you guys give to someone? Like, what would you tell someone right now? And I love that Marva said lateral sometimes, taking a step back. But what actionable advice? You have 120 individuals listening to you guys, and they're stuck or wondering which direction should I go. What if piece of advice would you give this group?
So one quick thing I would say is that self-reflection is really important. It goes back to starting, it's an inside job, right? Know who you are. And how do you do that if you don't know who you are or know really what your passion is? There's different tools and techniques you can use for that, right? I happen to be a big fan of journaling. So I would recommend, if you have no idea where to start and you want to do some kind of a practice, and if you like journaling, great. If not, maybe you want to talk to a friend who knows you or a family member. But think about, really do reflection on what is it I really love to do? What really are my interests? What is my superpower? Every single one of us has something within us that is uniquely us that we bring into the world. And so if you don't know what that is, Marv and I are in the business of working with people every day in our jobs and career services around, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin with my career. It can feel very daunting. So just break it down and start small. And with the journaling practice I do, it's every day. At the end of the day, I look at three things that happened today that really made my day, whatever that is. And then in the morning, I set three goals that I want to try to achieve today. Now, do I always achieve those goals? No. In fact, there's probably other things that come on and replace those goals with the best of intentions. But over time, that practice has given me insights because I can go back and read what I wrote a year ago or 6 months ago and say, oh, that's really interesting. I start to notice what are the patterns of the things that I really enjoyed about that day. When I do those three things of every day, I really enjoy. So if you really don't know, the answers really are within you. You just and there's tools and resources you can use to do that. So that's just one thought I have there.
Tricia?
And I don't I don't have any advice per se, but sometimes people just want to be heard. It, if you have the time and the inclination, yeah, definitely be that sounding board. The I mean, be empathetic, be willing to listen. I mean, it's not necessarily career advice, but I mean, the many times that people have paused and just heard what I had to say have been invaluable over the years.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Marva,
I was just
yes.
going to say I can add something related to what Kathleen and Tricia were just talking about, that frequently it really is that people do know what they want to do, but it's a risk, and or they think it's fluff. And you should know a little bit about me. If I go, my shopping philosophy is when in doubt, buy both, because
Like your shopping philosophy.
because I really think that you can combine things. You can really have a bit of both. And I learned that a long time ago as a very young career coach when a student came in and she was really into the arts, and her parents are like, no, you must do business or go to medical school. I understand. And we really worked through where she can talk to her parents about taking some business courses, learning about management, but doing it in the arts world. So when in doubt, you can really combine a lot of what you want to do. And so I think it really is just trying to be risk forward not risk averse, just risk forward in just terms of exploring and experimenting. I work with a lot of alums who are making career transition, and that's another whole discussion. And we really start with, what are you thinking about? What are you passionate about? What kind of professional associations out there represent a field that you're really maybe not markedly interested in, but want to explore just to because to make decisions, you just have to have a lot of information to be able to feel confident about making that decision.
Marva, Kathleen, I'm going to call you guys because I want to become an author. And now I feel like I am encouraged to want to write this book. I feel motivated and inspired. Diane, don't shake your head. Don't do that to me. Encourage me, Diane. Encourage me. Didn't you just hear Tricia say, listen to what people need to say? So encourage me. I'm going to call Kathleen and Marva to get some more inspiration. But I know we're close to time. And if you guys can give us 5 more minutes, I want to go to the chat and see if we have any questions for the group. Paul, Aileen, do you have anything in the chat group that needs to be asked? Hold on, let me go.
We had a question from Veronica. Hearing all these wonderful opportunities you all have experienced, I'm wondering, how do we have people working here over 20 years and have not been recognized in any capacity?
Oh,
Veronica.
No, I mean, but I guess I'll jump into that one first and say recognition comes in many forms. One, right? So I needing to understand exactly what she means by recognition. But just as as a university, we have this wonderful, amazing ceremony every year called the Career Milestones. It recognizes you. You get a nice lunch. Depending on the years of service, you get a sit down or I don't want to say informal, but it's a luncheon. If you're being here 5, 10, 15 years, and if you're being here 25 years and plus, it's actually listed in a GW Today article this week. You can go in there and see the pictures from the event. We have it every year. It's usually like a week or 2 before Thanksgiving. And we recognize everyone who's been here between 5 to 50 years of service. So it's an amazing event. In addition to that, you also have your performance evaluations. That's a part of your recognition process. But we're not going to dive. Aileen, don't do that facial expressions. I saw you. We're not going to dive deep into that. But that is a form of recognition and feedback, giving that evaluation, explaining where you need to move, what you're doing. But Veronica, let me know exactly what type of recognition you're speaking about, because let's dive deep. Maybe that's a committee. Maybe that's something we need to look into a little further. And then we also have the peer-to-peer recognitions, like called positive vibes. I was trying to think of the name, Diane, off the top of my head that you can do.
You can do positive vibes for your team, or you can send them across campus. I try to send them interdepartmentally, just so it spreads the word. And Career Milestones is honestly one of my happy bucket events yearly. And we just Carl Bryant celebrated 50 years of service at the university. So not that Marva, listen, I'm hoping, you're on a roll, Marva. So we might get to, I'm going to take your picture with the 50-year balloons, but I would, yes. Oh yes. But I would hope that everyone, certainly feels that sense of recognition. I'm on 14. I have to make it a little bit longer until I get to the next career milestones. But I'm hoping that, everyone does feel appreciated for the work that they do. And I try to make sure that, I say thank you across the board to, even if someone's helping me. And I think spreading kindness and appreciation goes a long way. So I try to lead with that example. And, I obviously am an extrovert, so I'm sure it's probably a little bit easier for me than it is for others, but a kind word and a thank you, or starting my email with, it's nice to meet you. I might not have gotten the opportunity to meet you, but it's nice to meet you via email. I would also say to you, obviously the market is tough. We've had a rough year at GW, but the outside market's also tough. If you're applying to things within GW, since that is within my wheelhouse, what I find to be really important and just something to consider is if you're actively applying, and even though you work at the university, which is wonderful, it's still really important to have a correct resume, a cover letter that truly speaks to that position. Those are things that are going to either move you forward to the next step or knock you out immediately. So things that you want to think about if you're actively applying is putting that effort in. You get the effort that you put in to the journey. So just thinking those things through of when you're thinking about your career path and what you want to do, and hopefully that is at GW. It's just, what that looks like for everyone is an individual journey.
Jumping in, I have a colleague, Eccles librarian Liz Kuntz, that always reminds me to update my CV, because I do a lot of things. Update my CV.
Yes, I appreciate
It's
that.
always those little things,
Just
those
never
little
know.
reminders. That often make a difference. A small kind word, a reminder to update your CV.
Yeah, you just never know when you'll need it. So I think the great thing about this panel today is you have some heavy hitters with years of experience. You have Diane who fills her happy bucket up to help you find for jobs. You have Kathleen and Marva who are literally volunteering career development a little bit. And then then you have Gina with all of these years of experience, and she's literally telling you how to maneuver, how to learn things with inside of your own job. So I think with this conversation, I would love for staff council to invite us back again for a deeper conversation. I know this wasn't a lot. This was a lot of time, but this conversation can probably go into multiple segments on career path, growth, recognition, because I heard a lot of things that come out of this conversation. So looking forward to the next invite. Looking forward to adding on to with Eileen's and staff council's uh, elevate GW, because I keep saying I want to take this, moves us forward. So, Aileen, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and thank you for inviting us.
Can I say one more thing before we
Yes.
close? I know for my colleagues on this in this webinar, one of the most important thing is to recognize your own value and your own worth, then to put it in place with really doing what Sabrina talked about, really talking to people. I have this kind of background. How would this translate into your organization? Those conversations can happen, readily. So give yourself permission to do that as well. I'm done.
Marva,
I
Marva, I'm calling you Marva. Just gonna.
Thank
I
you.
I will I will say this, we're not taking any more questions from the panel, but I do want to share what Andrew shared. Always make a running list of every new responsibility. I'm really bad at that. I heard Diane talk about volunteering. I was telling Kathleen the other day, I didn't realize I was such a volunteer queen until I came to GW. I haven't had the opportunity to work with Gina and Diane directly, but everybody else here I have. And everything that you said just resonated with me personally. I can't even read my notes that I wrote because it was just, you touched on so many things and I want to go all over the place. But first and foremost, Gina, I know you have to run. So I just want to say out loud to everybody, oh my goodness, thank you for participating in this panel. I've said it many, many times. You just don't know what it has meant to the committee, the council, that you all said yes, and that you're here and you have shared so much. If you can see the comments, you saw the reactions that people have shared. The pearls of wisdom was what we needed, what we need to hear. I'm always fussing at Sabrina about something when it comes to different career paths. So to have this array of history and journey and challenge, as well as success is very meaningful. Tricia, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you want to say last words before we move on?
No, I
I
was
think
saying,
Nina also did.
Thanks, Jane. I know
Okay.
you have to
All
go.
right.
Thanks, Jane.
Well, thank you so much. So I am going to read
yeah,
from my script a little bit. Thank you all so, so very much. I'm going to do the words that I wrote. Please join me as we thank Sabrina Minor for moderating and our panelists, Diane Connors, Gina Lohr, Kathleen Duffy, Marva Gumbs Jennings, and Tricia Greenstein for a meaningful and inspiring conversation. We really appreciate the time, honesty, and personal experiences you've shared. Your insights have offered us valuable guidance and encouragement for all of us, and we think our own as we think about our own career paths within GW. Thank you for your leadership, your openness, and your commitment to helping elevate GW. And Sabrina, we'll think about letting you share that.
uh,
uh, we are we we're inviting all the presenters, panelists, and attendees, if you can stay. The next portion is optional. But before we move into that, please let me introduce she had an emergency and wasn't able to join us. Our incoming President-elect Millie Galvan, I've been saying her last name wrong for all these years and didn't know that, unfortunately had an emergency and couldn't join us, so I will be able to close us out. I'm going to share my screen here a little bit. First and foremost, I would like to share that we had over 200 registrants for our first summit. That is amazing. It is to the committee. We can all just go home and sleep for a week. Our vacation, the end of the year has started for us today. So thank you. We had over 100 participants in each of the sessions, and the breakouts were very well attended. So thank you all so very much. The Staff Council and Staff Council Development and Recognition Committee cannot thank the breakout session presenters, community building with Rose Dunnigan, navigating leadership with Jay Goff, working smarter with AI, moderated by our own Joy Wu, keynote speaker Scott Maury, and the wealth of information just shared with us in the panel with the panelists and moderated by Sabrina Miner. You have no idea what it has meant that every one of you, one of the committee members have reached out to you and asked, and automatically you said, yes, I'll do it. I was picking at Kathleen the other day. I asked her, she didn't even look at her calendar. Marva did the same thing when I asked her. That's just, again, it goes back to those relationships that you all talked about earlier, that engagement. And it was just, it's just amazing. My heart is so full right now. To the attending staff, you are the staff council. We have a structure, we have an exec board, but every single one of you are the staff council. Stay involved, continue to share your ideas, your concerns, and your thoughts on how the community can continue to elevate. And remember, Scott said it earlier, not just with our issues, but with our solutions as well. You have strong ideas. We've shown the wealth of information and talent for this particular summit. Share that, okay? I listed all of our panelists, but to my next point, the staff, I feel so badly. I did these slides about 11 o'clock last night, but these are just the people I reached out to, but every one of our committee members reached out to someone else to help us in some form or fashion. I was talking about calendars. Sharon was on the call. She hadn't even talked to Jay yet. She just blocked it on his calendar and he said yes. Like he didn't even know it was in existence, but he was already on the agenda. That's the kind of collaboration that we're looking for. There are so many people behind the scenes who've been dedicated to the creation and execution of this project. They answered calls, created marketing, jumped on Zoom, or just walked me through the process until I felt comfortable. We literally have an IT guy on standby who's ready to answer any questions that I have today because I commandeered his life for this Friday. And these are those particular people. Staff council members, we talk about collaboration. We're always talking about breaking down silos. This event, there were no silos. It was just a group effort. And last but nowhere near least, I do not have the words to express how honored I am to have worked alongside the committee members that I've worked with of the Development and Recognition Committee. I am humbled by your commitment to GW and the Staff Council. Thank you for your time that you put into this committee this year. I've been telling anyone that will listen that I have the best committee and that you are amazing. I've never worked on a committee where every single person overcommitted, overworked. We've had meetings that everybody showed up to, on vacation, whatever. Everybody has sewed into this, to the success, because today has been quite successful. Thank you for the time. Thank you. You are brilliant and you elevate GW with your talents every single day.